Welcome everyone to today's webinar, Dancing with Parkinson's and more specifically, Bridging Generations Through Dance. It is our privilege to have two exciting and accomplished guests with us today. We will be chatting with Sarah Robichaud, founder of Dancing with Parkinson's. Sarah is a classically trained dancer who has studied and performed extensively throughout Canada, Europe, and Moscow. Sarah's interest in Parkinson's disease began in the spring of 2007 when her client Andy Barry, formerly of CBC Metro Morning, asked her for help managing his physical PD symptoms through exercise. Sarah was so inspired by the Mark Morris Dance Group's innovative PD dance program that she went to New York to participate in their first teacher training workshop. Upon her return to Toronto, Sarah made it her mission to offer PD dance classes throughout the country starting March 2008. Since then, Sarah has become a Canadian leader in the field of dance with Parkinson's, a founding member of the Dance for Parkinson's Network Canada, and the only Canadian certified by the Dance for PD organization. Our second guest is Anisa Tejpar. Anisa is a brilliant choreographer, graduate of Canada's National Ballet School, and winner of the prestigious Dora Mae Vermoor Award for Performing Arts. Anisa is also the co-artistic director of the dance entertainment firm Hit and Run Dance Productions, for which she has done work for artists and brands all over Canada, including Nike, the Rolling Stones, TIFF, and many others. She is a current member of the Board of Directors of Canada's National Ballet School and has worked extensively with Dancing with Parkinson's and served as choreographer and director for the Intergenerational Dance Project, which connects youth and seniors through dance. We'll start momentarily with a look at their short documentary, Bridging Generations Through Dance. The documentary, created by filmmakers Michael Krause and Lara Eben, captures Dancing with Parkinson's 2018 to 2019 Intergenerational Dance Project. It has been nominated for a Short Film Award with the Hollywood Verge Film Festival. In the Bridging Generations Through Dance project, important themes of isolation and loneliness were explored and represented through dance and music. These themes are all the more relevant today during these uncertain times. Dancing with Parkinson's core mission is to bring seniors with Parkinson's disease out of isolation and into an artistic community where they can dance and connect with others. While navigating our way through social distancing, Dancing with Parkinson's continues to be guided by this mission, offering free, daily, live, online interactive dance classes, and we'll get you the information for those shortly after. As the documentary plays, feel free to type in questions as they come to mind. Questions will be addressed at the end of the presentation, and we will make every effort to answer these questions. Thank you, and with that, we'll begin the short documentary.
I don't know what it is about dance. You can say something in a movement that a word can never say. For me, dance is the medium that I know best. Dance is one of those things that everybody does. It's one of those things that crosses boundaries of language, of age, of life experience, of where you were born, it's one of those things that can bring people together because all you gotta do is put on a great song. Hands on the ground and you're gonna circle your legs and stand this way. Yeah, so it's like a big circle with your legs so they'll go from around to the side. And you can slowly bring your way up and bring your hands back to your face up here.
It lets me really be myself because I know that no one's gonna judge me. It's like another being inside of me that's sort of just doing it. And I don't really think of it when I'm doing it, but it sort of just comes out when it happens.
Even if it's a limited way in which you move, you can still respond to the music.
We bring together two very different age groups and see if we could, through dance, find some commonalities. The intangible things that are happening in the studio, in the workshop, rehearsal process are usually the things that bring such connection and joy and fun and learning between the age groups.
It's a new idea, so I'm trying to develop different kinds of relationships between seniors and youth. They, I feel like, are the same person. You two, I feel like, are building something together, and then them, I feel like, are together, like they're in their lives together.
Okay, we're not supposed to feel her hardship.
No, you're your own autonomous idea. Yeah, it's three different, you guys are just, you're feeling off each other. That's what I like about this relationship. One theme that keeps coming up is the idea of isolation and loneliness. And I think youth, even today, more than ever, they have a lot to deal with in growing up in this day and age. And I think a lot of that time, it's very isolating. And they feel like no one understands them truly. On the flip side, we have all these seniors who have lived incredible lives, traveled, had families, you know, had crazy experiences. But then after all of this, with not only just their illness, I think just aging is something that sometimes feels very lonely. And I think even though we all age, we strangely don't connect on that level. We don't talk about it very much. We don't talk about what it feels like to not be the person we once were.
As much determination as I have to make sure that I've got the barricades up if I feel loneliness coming on.
I don't speak with my words, I speak with my dancing. That's how I interact with someone. And it has a fun way of just not talking to someone, you're talking to someone with your own movements.
Maybe step over, yeah. But then the next pose, if I go up like this.
Yeah, we're gonna be like this.
Yeah.
So
When I was younger, I wouldn't have much friends, so I was sometimes really isolated from the world. But with dance, it helped me like be more closer to friends that I work with. That's why I love it so much.
When I go to dance, you don't usually spend a lot of time like talking with your peers, but like when you dance with them, it's like you're really communicating, and like I think it's a good way to form connections.
The weight of aging suddenly hit me in that my life is finite to begin with, and literally Parkinson's was closing in on me, like as if I was had to carry heavier and heavier weights all the time, and I was losing the sociability, the ability to get out and meet people and do things.
It's been really interesting to see how they interact with one another. I think music is a place of commonality. So I've been looking into figuring out ways to bring those together and not just have the music speak to either just the youth or the seniors. There was a lot of talk about things they can't do and can do. I sort of saw a journey in that particular section of the work of starting from a place where they can't to somewhere where they can.
From wherever you are, wherever she is, just join her. Like, that's what it's supposed to be.
When everyone's dancing together, you're all like working together and noticing other people. And you like, even though you're dancing and you're trying to remember the choreography and like what you're feeling, you're interacting with everyone else because you're all dancing together.
The dance with youth has been interesting. Somehow I pick up on their energy, and it allows me to do a little bit more each time.
You go.
Okay.
And everyone's going to stop.
All right, so you'll cue us now, though?
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
Okay.
So I had this idea to build a knot of all the human physically. It was a chain of humans holding on to each other, and it represented a boundary, even a line, even a a simple chain can be so complex, have so many different layers, and be so interwoven, and that in the end, all of our lives kind of play out that way, that you're better for every experience, every interaction you have with another person, and you are changed every time you do interact with another person.
While we were all holding hands and we all kind of twisted ourselves, and then we were able to untwist ourselves, and I think that is kind of, it's really special because it connects with how like the relationship with other people who aren't quite like us can kind of not be fully expanded or not actually be there at all. But we can always find a way to fix that.
When I see the dancers at different age groups expressing themselves in a way with such openness and such courage to people, essentially, they don't know each other. And the way that they actually begin to develop a relationship, those are the powerful, powerful things.
Negative spaces around your body, right? So she's gonna start from behind you, and then you are gonna take your one, and she's gonna find her way to come around you.
I still can't dance, but I do try. I find that I can easily fill my life with a small number of sporting activities, exercise activities, and I find that's an important way to enjoy as well as contribute. That's kind of what life is all about.
It gives me something I can do and I can participate in, and people who are of the same ability as I am, and it's a very friendly and safe atmosphere.
It became something we could do together.
It's important to interact with someone who's not like you, because then you can learn more about them and other people who are like them. So it's important to make that connection.
Dance is allowing the two generations to bridge that big gap, just in the friendships you make and then you retain.
After Arlene kind of gets here, you'll walk your way down. This is your special X. A circle of light will appear here. And then you guys will come in together. You guys can come together. You don't have to walk any special way. You just walk
The
like
music and the dance really brings us in contact with each other and sharing ideas and movement.
Yeah.
It's just something that works.
And you get like I've gotten to realize that some of the problems I'm having as a senior, they're having as teenagers or children.
It's a common humanity kind of thing.
We had worked on this idea of the youth moving the seniors. And so the seniors were actually really still, and not because they can't move, but because that was their task, was to just be very still and to be directed by the youth. And so watching the youth move them into places and positions and movements that they wanted them to do, to lead them, was actually really beautiful, because generally seniors would be the leaders because of their knowledge and because of their experience. And so allowing that table to flip a little bit was very beautiful, and watching the seniors kind of abandon their control was actually really, really sweet. And what ended up happening was this intense and beautiful idea of real support, of real love, of real care, which I think we're all looking for. But especially in that dynamic, it played out just so much better than I could have even hoped. And we were all, like all of us observing, we're all really touched, truly touched.
When we moved the seniors, we had to be very gentle with their body and be very imaginative on the story that we were trying to tell.
If you're connecting with these great kids, you don't want to let them down. So you do it. You move and you think, can I do even a quarter of what they're doing? Doesn't matter how much you do it, as long as you're doing it. You're doing something and you're having fun doing it. And I think that's what I notice is the smiles, the laughter, the joy, just the joy of movement, the joy of the music, the joy of being together with the young kids.
But in the end, every time I leave knowing, surely, that at least one person in there is having a better life or day because of it. And that's really the goal. And then in the end, that makes me feel like I'm doing something I can stand up for, or something that I want to be remembered about, like for, or that's cool, I guess.
No matter like who you are, there's always something that you can find, even if it's going to take you a while. There's always something you can find in someone else that you also have, then you can use that to connect and be friends.
All right, I hope everyone enjoyed that brief documentary with the beautiful interaction between Parkinson's disease individuals and youth as well. I'm just going to now open up the floor to any questions. If you do have any questions regarding dance or exercise or fitness, please feel free to enter them into the chat box over on the right side of your screen. With that, we have a couple of questions that have come in. And we've got Sarah, I think she's online here now with voice, as well as Anisa.
Hi. Can you see me?
Video.
There we go.
There we go. Perfect. Okay. I'm just going to back this up here. And yes, there we have Sarah is on the left side and Anisa is on the right side. So let's take a look at some of these questions that have just popped in here, and then we'll get a chance to talk in more detail about the video as well as the offerings that Sarah and Anisa have as well. So the first question is I'm a 79-year-old Parkinson's disease person. I have balance problems. What do you recommend to help me out?
Well, I'll take that question. Thank you for asking. Honestly, safe movement, working on your stability is the way to go. You know, in order to improve our balance, we have to test our balance and work our balance. So we have to put our bodies in positions and do certain exercises that make those muscles get stronger, that will support us. But that doesn't just mean your leg muscles, that means your core muscles, and that means your body in functional movement, right? Because we're not robots. So we're very functional. We move, we pick up things, we have to step over things. And so it's really about working your body as a whole. And you want to do this in the safest way possible. So perhaps a physiotherapist or a seated dance class or working with a personal trainer.
Okay, thank you very much for that. Another question that has popped in is, are there any other, sorry, let me repeat that question. Other than the physical benefits, what psychological benefits does dance have on people living with Parkinson's disease?
Want to go for that, Anisa?
Sure. Well, it's a little strange now that we're in a bit of a lockdown, but generally, dancing is a way to connect with other people, and it's a way to share space and time without having to really, know them very well. And as the documentary shows, these were people who didn't know each other at all, had never been to each other's homes, barely knew each other's last names, and were fully experiencing all sorts of joys and happiness from dancing together. That being said, Sarah has continually been, striving to connect especially seniors, through dance, and still does it even now during this COVID-19 time. So, music plays, you're happy, you're joyful, you're doing things that maybe you wouldn't on your own accord, but you're encouraged by your community and you're encouraged by your teachers to step out of your comfort zone and maybe look a bit ridiculous, but that's, for me, the most fun possible.
Sounds good. Another individual has written in here that these were all very creative movements. Does following a set pattern work to help our cognitive side?
I'll speak to that, and then Anisa can speak to the actual choreography of the piece. Yes, working imposed choreography, so something that is a set piece, definitely helps to improve our cognition. It's kind of like doing a Sudoku puzzle for your brain using movement. So different learning patterns, repeating patterns, but then also, interestingly enough, doing improvisation, which is not set movement. That's movement that you are the creator of, and it's much more free and sort of expressive, in a way that feels good to you, to whatever you want to express. So both free movement and set movement have been shown to definitely improve cognition. And then the piece.
Yeah, in the context of the work that we created with the youth and the seniors, we did a combination of both throughout the whole thing. So there were sections that had very set patterns, and we were smart about it and designated leaders and things like that so that it wasn't a stressful experience. But then there were sections that were a little more improvised with a very clear idea. So that's one thing that I think is really important when you're trying to achieve a physical goal, is that you have, or a physical activity, is that you have a goal. So what am I trying to do? I'm trying to pick up this pen and use it in every way that I possibly can. Now the movement is free, I'm creating it, but I have a goal. The goal is to move the pen. So the combination of those things not only gives context to what you're doing, but it gives you focus in a way that allows for you to explore further than just, doing the same things over and over again.
And sort of piggybacking on that, what we have found, so as dancers, like as young dancers, the way that we are taught to move is by using a lot of visualization and a lot of imagery. So it's never just like put your hand up to the side and pull it down. It's like reach for the balloon that's going away and take it down into the other hand and reach for the balloon. So it really changes the whole intention and expression in the movement. And we have found, similarly in our Dancing with Parkinson's classes, the more imagery that we use, the more visualization, the more story that we set, it seems to be that the movement becomes freer and more attainable, which is really interesting. It's really quite beautiful.
That's great to know. It's not just the movement, it's movement with intention and with a specific goal in mind that really gives the benefit to you.
100%.
All right. Another question has popped in here. Are some types of dance better than others? Line dancing, ballroom dancing?
It's all good.
All good.
It's all good. Anisa and I both do everything.
We love everything. It's a big problem.
Yes.
It's a big problem. We're too interested in dance.
Yes.
I mean, it really is your taste. Whatever you enjoy, whatever music drives you, whatever like style of movement drives you, that's what you should do.
Yeah, dance really has this ability to uplift your spirits. Of course, it's the music. You're choosing music that you like, a genre that you like. Maybe it brings back good memories for you of a time. And your body will really respond to that, but your brain will really respond. And all of those feel-good hormones will start flooding through your body. So, the neurotransmitters start firing up and you've got the serotonin and good endorphins. So pick a style of dance that you like or try many different styles. Both Anisa and I are classically trained. We were both ballet dancers. And certainly ballet gives us a really good base and sort of core foundation to be able to experiment with many, many kinds of dance. But honestly, we will stick with things that we love and find fun. And we cannot undervalue fun. So find a style of dance or exercise that you find fun, because you'll do it more. So that's really the important thing.
Great, thanks for that. That kind of ties in with another question we just received, which is, what is the ideal music to dance to? So I think the answer is pretty much the same.
Whatever you like.
Yeah. Like, for
And sometimes
example,
it depends on the day. Sometimes today is disco day. You're going to play disco while you cook, disco while you read, disco, maybe it's disco day. I mean, I often play Motown and soul music in my house, and it makes me the happiest. I know that if I'm in a funk, it's the number one thing to lift me. But then there are other days where all I want to listen to is Bach. So, it changes, and it'll change for you too.
And specifically in the Dancing with Parkinson's classes and the live online classes that we do every day, I can say, for example, today we did a varying style. We did some disco, we did a classical waltz, we did a little Hernando's Hideaway, a little Spanishy, tango-y feel. We did some Beatles, Across the Universe. We did Lean on Me. So that's pretty varied. But it really comes down to what makes you feel good on any given day, and go with it.
Okay, fantastic information. A little more complicated question has popped in here. The person that I care for likes music and dance, but they are at the stage where they can no longer walk or stand. Are there any other movements that can be recommended from their chair or something like that?
Yeah, absolutely. So Dancing with Parkinson's, our classes are designed to be modified for any ability. So we have a lot of students who are in wheelchairs. We have students who no longer walk or stand, and everything becomes about the upper body, or a little wiggling of the toes if they can. Dance doesn't have to be this to be beautiful. So this move can be this move, and it still can be luxurious and beautiful and artistic. So it's really finding the pleasure in all the movement, whether it's huge or small. There's not one that's better than the other. It's just about like the personal exploration of, how can I make this feel exquisite? So yes, anybody can come to classes. Yeah. A lot of our students do remain seated the whole time. And our online classes right now, if your partner can get to a chair in front of an iPad or a laptop, the entire 20 minutes is seated. I sit down the entire time.
Okay, great. Actually, while we're on this topic, can you tell us a little bit more about these classes that you're offering and how people join?
Sure. So as Anisa mentioned, after when sort of COVID hit and we needed to physically and socially distance, we had to close our in-person doors for all of our locations. We have 15 across the city. But our mission at Dancing with Parkinson's is to bring seniors out of isolation to connect with one another. So it was a bit challenging to think, how do we keep fulfilling our mission? And so we decided we would try these online Zoom classes, and it's worked really beautifully. It looks like most people are not having a challenge as far as downloading the Zoom app. Once you have the Zoom app downloaded, you would go to our dancingwithparkinsons.com homepage, which you see in front of you now, probably. And a pop-up will come and it'll say, click here to register for the free online classes. Once you put your name in, and it's a little bit of a waiver saying you won't sue me, and then we will send you the link to the Zoom class, and then you can just sign in any day you want at 11 a.m.
Okay, great. And do users see you personally, Sarah, or do they see Anisa as well, or is it two separate classes, or how does that work?
Anisa hasn't been on yet, but never say never.
I might make a guest appearance one day, guys, so you got to come.
I think so. So far, I've been teaching most of the classes along with a DWP colleague named Robin McPhail-Dempsey. And Robin, you also saw in the documentary, she was the dance captain of the intergenerational project.
And her mother was also in the project, which made it the sweetest, most fulfilling experience for their family, but also for all of us who know them.
Great. And we've just got a question here. So you mentioned that anybody can join, and it's at 11 Eastern Standard daily?
Yeah, right, yeah.
Okay.
So it's early for those living in the West, but...
All right. If there are any other questions, please feel free to add them to the queue. The next question is more about the film and relating what was one of your favorite parts of creating that documentary? And this one is geared toward Anisa.
Well, remember that, I mean, the documentary is a snapshot into a year of our lives, you know, so we spent so many Sundays in a studio working on different ideas and with the goal of a presentation. So in the end of the year, or it's just under a year of working on this, the group of dancers who had committed to the project performed in front of a very large audience. And we created a 35-minute work for, I think it was closer to 40 minutes maybe, but that was fully lit with costumes and the whole thing on stage. So I think watching the documentary is beautiful, and it makes me cry every time I watch it. But the truth is that my favorite moment about the intergenerational dance project is not just getting to know the people every day, but it's watching them all rise up to the performance occasion, watching them get out there, you know, stomp all over their fears and their judgments of themselves, and just embrace the process and embrace what we created together. And it also, it's really heartwarming for me as a creator to like have them all trust me in that way, that they know that I'm not gonna make them look bad. I'm not gonna embarrass anyone, and that they can trust in the taste and the love in which we all brought to the project. And, you know, Robin McPhail-Dempsey, who we talked about, was a huge part of getting that on the stage, as well as Meredith Thompson and Megan Nadine, who supported the youth. And of course, Rachel Gibson, who was the mother of the whole organization. She held us all together. And with the support of Sarah, you know, we were able to do it really well. And the quality and the experience that every single person had in that room, it's hard to forget. I think it'll always be with me. I'm also super proud that my own daughter was there, who at the time was 7, and just was blown away by what art can do, and dance especially.
Great, fascinating. Thank you. Sarah, in terms of your classes, after COVID-19 lifts, what is the plan at that point?
So after COVID-19 lifts, definitely we'll be looking at the landscape and see what we were able to do. Obviously, you know, COVID-19 has affected small grassroots charities like ours in a big way. I suspect that the online classes are going so well, and we're able to sort of reach so many seniors who actually are quite isolated in rural areas and not able to make it to any of our locations, that we probably will continue the online classes in some shape or form as part of our core offerings. And then hopefully when we can, when it's safe to do so, start reopening our in-person classes. But for sure, somehow, some way, the online component will be part of our core offerings now.
Okay, great. Thank you very much. All right, I'm just cruising the queue here to see if there's any last minute questions.
In their pajamas still at home. got
developing that routine can be a challenge. This person is asking, are all of your classes held in Toronto, or do you have classes outside of Toronto?
So, Dancing with Parkinson's Canada, our specific organization, has 15 locations throughout the GTA. Then if you go to our website, and sorry, Stan, I don't know what everybody can see. Do they have our homepage up as well?
Yes, they have the homepage.
Okay, great. Yeah. So in the top right corner, it says Dance for Parkinson's Network Canada. And the Dance for Parkinson's Network Canada, the founding members are Parkinson Canada and the National Ballet School, Dance for PD in New York, and Dancing with Parkinson's Canada. So we all come together with the plan to get this program, people with Parkinson's dancing in as many places as possible. So we, David Leventhal and I teach a training program for many dance instructors from across Canada once a year at the National Ballet School. And then these dance instructors take the program back to their towns and cities throughout Canada. And so if you go on the Dancing for Parkinson's Network Canada site, and there's a link that says where to dance, you will get a list, I believe it's by province, of where Parkinson's dance classes are being offered.
Okay, great. So it's not just a Toronto-centric thing.
Nope.
It's all over. One more question popped in here, and the person is asking, they don't feel comfortable dancing typically. Do they have to know how to dance to join one of your online classes?
No, you do not need to know how to dance. It's kind of amazing because most people who come to our classes have never danced before at all. It's a very, very small minority of people who say, I used to dance. So a lot of people come to our classes because their neurologist recommends it or their physiotherapist. And they call and they say, I'm not a dancer. I'm going to hate this. I don't want to do this. I don't want to do this. And then they come to class and they never leave. And then they're with us for the next 10 years. It's really fun. It's really fun. It's the most non-judgmental, joyful, loving environment that I have ever been in my entire life. So like you could come just for that, honestly. I know that when I walk into the room or start the Zoom class or in a studio to see in-person students, every other thing in my life that's happening goes away. And it all becomes about movement, music, connection, expression, and beauty. And so we try and still do that in our Zoom classes, even though they are online. We're feeling pretty connected. I have to say, we're feeling pretty connected and we're having a lot of fun. And especially on the Zoom, nobody would be looking at you. And if you're uncomfortable, Zoom has this great feature that you can just click off your video. So we won't even see you. And then when you get really good at the moves, then you have to put your video on.
I think it's better if you don't know how to dance, because then you have no preconceived notion of what you expect to feel or anything. You're just doing it. And so it actually frees you up a lot. I often enjoy moving with people who don't move often. It's more exciting.
Yeah. Oh, totally. Yeah, it is.
Excellent. That's fantastic to hear. Maybe I'll have to join a class myself.
Oh my gosh, join. That'd be so fun.
I'll give it a shot. All right. So we're just coming up to the last question in the queue. This person is asking about how similar are the movements to, let's say, Tai Chi or martial arts type movements that you do in your classes?
I think because of the film, you might be mentioning that, whoever asked that question. So because also some of the film is slowed down, so it ends up looking very, like Tai Chi. But I don't have any background in Tai Chi. I've taken Tai Chi quite a bit. And Sarah I'm sure is in the same boat. It's not, I'm no master, but I think if that's something that you have in your toolkit, you know, bring it out. Like, why not? But at the same time, you know, as a choreographer, movements come to you. Sometimes you have no idea where they come from or why, and you insert them in the way that you want to. Sarah, I'll let you talk about your classes, but hers are way more music and dance driven than the film shows specifically.
So yeah, the movement in the classes really vary. So, you know, I'll just give you an example. Like, we might start with something that kind of does look very sort of graceful and Tai Chi-ish, you know. But then I'm gonna have you rocking out. And right? So we go many places in 20 minutes.
Okay, very cool. All right, so that was the last question of our queue, and I would like to take this moment here to thank everyone for attending our session today, and to also thank our guests, Sarah and Anisa, for a very informative and very beautiful presentation on how art can affect us and improve our lives. We would like to remind you as well that our next webinar is this Friday, April 24th at 1 p.m. noon, and it's on medical cannabis with Dr. Tiago Mestre. So in conclusion, on behalf of Parkinson's Canada, we want to wish you all a very enjoyable afternoon, and thank you to our guests once more.
Thank for having us. This was so fun.
Thank you so much for having us.
All right, bye for now.
Great day, everybody.
Bye-bye. Bye.
Bye.